Good morning, everyone. Morning. While you're fixing technology, right? It's coming up, yeah. Let me just start. Yeah, let me start then with my career then. Because I think when we talk about agility, in hindsight, agility has always been part of my behavior. This is why I said true agile is what you are. Most likely, if I compare myself to the rest of you, I'm an old man, over 50. And I started my career not in the IT. My first step in my career was the healthcare, delivering babies with teams. Then I thought after a couple of years, okay, this is not my game for the rest of my life. So I switched to the military forces, which was an obligation at that time, as a platoon's commander in the army. After a while, I stopped that, and then finally I got into the IT starting 1987. In hindsight, I don't know what your own definition is of agile, but for me, one of the things that I perceive as very agile is that you work as one team, where you have one objective. And every single individual in the team is very skilled and very trained. And together you serve the one objective, and people can step in for each other. It's not that we all have our own task in the team. No, we can do multiple things. We are multidisciplined, right? Looking back in hindsight, for me, means that running down the hallway on the way to the operating room when things get into an escalation during delivering of babies. I think that's so agile when you get into an operating room. You will meet things you didn't foresee. You have to handle professionals, and you have all one shared objective. Same thing for military forces. But at the time, I didn't see this, all right? I got into my world of developing. Who of you still knows what COBOL programming is, COBOL code? If you raise your hand, it tells you something about your age. You got yourself now? Right, okay. So, in 1994, I'm from the Netherlands, by the way. In 1994, I was doing a project at a very dynamic organization in the Netherlands called the National Tax Agency. And it's as dynamic as it sounds, right? And it was really, I don't know about you, when you wake up in the morning and you want to feel happy when you go to work because you spend so much time on it, right? And then I would drive for an hour and a half. It's a huge tower, I don't know how many floors, like 15, 16, and you go up. And there was this hallway with all those little rooms. And in one of those little rooms, I was together with Peter and Ria, the three of us. And we were called the technical design team. Going back to the definition of it, agile and team and shared objectives, I talked with Peter and Ria about a lot of things, like the weekend and the football and the kids. Never about work. Because in the room next to us, you can imagine there was here it comes, functional design team, right? 3 guys. And every one of us got work from someone over there. And there was no connection, and things happen for a reason. So what happened in this case is that all of a sudden the project was killed. So I was at the customer side, working as an external at the time. So you leave it, and you're down at the building at your car. You think, okay, what's next? 10:15 in the morning. I thought, I'm going to the office, and I'm going to meet all we call them commercial managers at the time, which means sales, right? And I thought, whatever happens, I'm going to tell them I don't want this anymore. So we had 6 at the time in the office, and to 5 of them who were there, I said, okay, whatever happens, this is what I don't want anymore. Who of you knows Daniel Pink? With the human motivation, autonomy, mastery, purpose. Almost everything was lacking in that situation where I was, right? And I thought, it has to change. And then some guy said to me, okay, I think I have something for you. And I got into the world of rapid application development. Who ever heard of rapid application development? Only the front row. What happens here? It's like gray beards? Yeah, old. Yeah, old. Yeah, and published in 1991. It was in 1994 that I started working with rapid application development, experimenting. And I think Agile is still about experimenting, trying to find better ways all the time. For me, it's always, if you do the same thing for half a year or a year, it feels uncomfortable. There's always room for improvement. Got into the DSDM community. And DSDM these days is known as the Agile Project Management Framework. And on behalf of the DSDM community in 2001, I flew to Salt Lake City and we wrote a manifesto, right? There's 17 of us. For me, Agile has always been about business value. It's always been about common sense. What I want to talk with you about today is how come, and I don't know about you and your organization, but I meet so many organizations, they struggle. And if you listen, you can hear Agile words, like they do sprints, or they have integrated testing, and they have product owners. And I meet people say, yeah, we work Agile. We have a sprint for analysis, and then we have a sprint for functional design, and then we have a sprint for technical design. And they go all the way down, right? And, right on. So why does this happen? This is what I want to talk with you about, because I think that true Agile, and when I say is what you are, it means for me that when we are living and working, our mind as an individual, but also as an organization, as a team, is full of paradigms. And a paradigm is how you perceive things. And where Agile, in my opinion, is extremely simple, the application of Agile is complicated because we have paradigms changing. And especially when you have existing organizations, line managers, 7 layers, the paradigms get stronger and stronger. History, and reinforces paradigms. So, this is what I more or less told you. This is my life in a nutshell, the military forces, the healthcare, COBOL development. This is, the turning point. This was a very special weekend in my life. Imagine you go to Salt Lake City from the Netherlands. You come back, you wrote an Agile manifesto, your house burned down, and your wife decided to leave you. If you want to talk about life-changing events, yeah, that's one. Today, I work international. We have headquarters in Paris, and we do Agile transformations. And this is why the talk on paradigms, for me, is so important. We do corporate transformations, full organization, hop, into Agile. And the hop is sometimes a little more complex than you think it would be. So, let me share some facts with you. Some of my examples are, I like to read the newspaper, so it's BBC and on the internet, but a lot of them is all Dutch. So my examples might be Dutch here and there, right? It's also less embarrassing if they're Dutch. You don't know the people, you don't know the organization, so I can speak freely here. Not delivering what the business needs. And we talk about, this is something that's, this is old stuff, right? I want to take you back just a little over a year and a half ago in the Netherlands, where we had the social security world about the engine for payments on child support. You're Dutch, I see you smiling. Yep. What happened over there is that they started creating sort of a functional design, and they shipped it to India. After a year and a half, it came back, it came back 28 million euros later. And and they said it's not that good. And they started to investigate. What can we use from the materials delivered so far? And there was a committee assigned by the Prime Minister to look into this. And the answer was nothing. So this same committee said, let's restart the work again. Let's do something because, we need a new engine. The old engine is from 1989, right? So we need something new by now. Must have been a COBOL, I think. So they spent another 12 million in 6 months. And they stopped it again. And then the managing director of the Social Security Bank was asked, why didn't you work Agile? And he gave this magnificent answer. He said, we were not ready for working Agile. Can you imagine that someone says this, spends 40 million euros in another way of working, and then saying, I was not ready for working Agile, right? Talking paradigms here. Okay, so not delivering what the business needs is a very, very strange situation. But let's go to the next one. Hindering errors. Error after error after error. Why? Who knows? Why do we have so many errors in software solutions? Why? Come on, We are humans, yeah. And what's the human? The human thing is, I've been in a situation myself where you have the analysis and functional design, technical design, and every step that we take takes a little longer than planned. And a little longer, and a little longer. But the deadline for delivery doesn't change, right? So, there's a solution. you cut down on your time for testing, which is ridiculous, right? What happens is it grows more, and the solution is we test less. And then we get surprised. Software is the only product where you get the bugs for free and you have to pay to get them out of there, right? So, and we go over time and over budget. And now we get to think, why do we go over time and over budget? You know, in the budget area, and also in the time, but especially in the budget area, we make estimates. What do we know of an estimate? Wrong. It's wrong. And an estimate is part of a triplet, together with interpretations and assumptions, right? So here we go. This is very dangerous. And over time, we create new insights because you can sit down behind the desk trying to imagine how the brilliant solution could be, like the functional design that the Social Security Agency shipped to India. But once you see it and you start, let's say, the first version in test or prototype, then you get the insights. And hey, and what do we do when we have an insight? When we have a new idea, an extra requirement, what do? Yeah, more money. And how do we get more money? It's almost like a horror movie, you know, like a main character in a horror movie. It's called Request for Change. Do you know that one? Right. And if it gets really worse, you know, the second movie, Request for Change Part 2, then it's the Change Advisory Board. You know that one? Right, so it doesn't work. You know, time is a constraint. So now look at this. There's on top, the previous slide is something that's old. It's still opportune, but it's there for so a long time. Looking at this is let's say more recent. Who of you still has a Nokia? 1, 2. I can count them. That says a lot, right? I can count them. When we wrote the Agile Manifesto, I was working in a company with approximately 700 people. 1 or 2, maybe not, the rest had a Nokia. Why? Why did everyone have a Nokia, you know?
Because they're the market leader.
Market leader, and they were astonishing. You know, cell phones, we did you know, tests. We just put them in a glass of Coca-Cola, right? Waited for 2 minutes, got them out, disassembled them, rinsed them under the water, put them on the central heating, waited for 2 hours, assembled them again, and you could make phone calls for 3 more days. Nokia, right? Actually, I was checking my phone this morning and the photographs, and I saved it from somewhere on Facebook, I think, and it's a Nokia photograph. And the text below says, in 2,000 years, we're going to dig up the rubble of your society. And I bet in there will a Nokia phone with the battery still on half power. Right. Okay, so Nokia was awesome. And you could really, you know, it was a cell phone, you could really make phone calls for a week. What happened to Nokia? What happened? No, not Microsoft. No. What was where did they miss it, Nokia? Yeah, the smartphone, the step into, and this is a strange situation, right? And then who took over? You know? No, there was someone in between. No. Yeah, BlackBerry with a little trackball in the middle, right? So it was like 2005, 6. I was working in a company, was one of the shareholders, we had 120 people. Everyone had a BlackBerry, everyone. And then 2007, Apple came in, blew them away. What was the thing that Apple offered and BlackBerry couldn't follow? Touchscreen, yeah, touchscreen. And there's from Steve Ballmer from Microsoft, there's a video, I think it's on YouTube, where he holds an iPhone and he pulling a face as if it's like a piece of dog shit. And he says, I cannot imagine that people spend half their day touching the screen of their phone. This will never work. Okay, so far for Microsoft, right? Now the thing is, Microsoft, Nokia, BlackBerry at the time, and Microsoft still, were top-notch leading in the world. They had trend watchers, they had researchers. What happened? And my point is, when you talk about corporate agility, it's about being able to respond to what's needed, you know, to keep your organization alive, which means listening basically to your market. Responsiveness is everything, right? That's what agility is all about for me. On the outside, you know, where it helps. I have also talks where I say Agile makes you future-proof. And I introduced the word, an expression, the Nokia risk. Because if you don't, you know, what happens? You're such a brilliant company. We have technology. And the innovation and the opportunities that technology offer are going in a pace that's faster, extremely much faster than 10 years ago, than 20 years ago. Today we do stuff 5, 6, 7 years ago we couldn't even think about, and in 5 years from now we will see the same again, right? This is what happens. So you have to be able to respond. That's what it is. Now the thing is, we make these days very often, complex solutions for complex situations, and sitting behind your desk and up front, we all know that big design up front doesn't work. But if big design up front doesn't work, it means that you have to allow yourself, while you're in development, to explore. That part of, and my own personal statistics over the last 22 years are that once you go into development and you have an idea where you want to go, approximately 70% stays more or less the same, but at least 30% will change. Either they go out, the requirements, they come in, or they change. And if you look at those 30%, this is very often where you make the difference as a company towards the market. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So you have to explore because you need it. And the other one is the end-to-end. And I was just making the joke about the sprint for analysis and a sprint for functional design and a sprint for technical design. I see so many organizations that do Agile or want to do Agile, but what they do is they maintain all those steps or a couple of the steps in there. And every step means handover and every step means delay. And the moment that you can get into really end-to-end delivery, in your sprint or time box, then you get somewhere. Then you can really be ahead of the competition. Right? My strong idea is that if you don't deliver what your client asks for, you didn't communicate well. It doesn't get more complicated than that. It's simple. Communication is everything, right? And we all know here, and also the people that I worked with, in 1994, they know how to make proper stuff, how it really is high quality. I was last year in the summer, I was in Bucharest. Part of the way we work in the Agile transformations is that before we go in, we talk to people, everyone, management and teams, and we talk to people. And there was here it goes, the QA manager. Do you know what QA means? Quality, here comes the word, assurance, right? Quality assurance. And she is responsible, still is, for 60 people who do the testing in the team. So she's resourcing teams with testers, right? And then she said to me, Arie, there was so much pressure on the delivery and to go live that we went live without testing. Not a little testing, 0 testing. Just relying on you guys developing and then, fingers crossed, and here we go. So discipline is everything. So pressure is very deceiving because pressure makes you do stuff you shouldn't do, but still you do it, right? So can you get back into a disciplined way of working? So business needs is communication. Quality is, for me, discipline. And maybe it's my military background and I'm just a little deformed here, but I love discipline, really professional delivery. Delivering over budget, efficiency. You can talk about, for me, efficiency in the process is very important. I was doing the technical design and I thought, okay, here I have a functional designer, there's a developer, literally in the hallway. So what if I step out and we do the functional design and we deliver it to the developer? I think the developer who has a master degree or a bachelor degree, he can read a functional design. He has a brain. So my value here in the middle is 0. Now what if I join the developer and develop it? We double the capacity instantly, right? So this is for me an idea of efficiency. And the last one is the worst one. If you deliver too late, and I don't know about your life, what you see around you, but delivery late is the standard. Statistics, Netherlands, 2013, the delivery is half a year late, 189% of the original budget. So here you go. You worked hard all your life, right? You have this bank account with $500,000. I say, okay, now I'm buying this piece of land and I build myself a house. So you go to an architect and say, can we do this? Yeah. Okay, 500,000 euros, you're on. I built you your house. And it's on January 1, right? And then he delivers the 1st of May, and you get a bill saying 950,000 euros. And you accept it. That's more or less what happens in the world, right? It's ridiculous. Okay. Now what we know, and the big thing is for me, and this is why I emphasize so much on the traditional ways of working and end-to-end is that we all say and we all have reasons why we maintain and sustain steps in the sequence, right? And the sequence of it is just a waterfall that I draw, but it can be anything else. You know, the moment you introduce a sequence, you introduce handover to other people, you introduce delay, you introduce interpretations and assumptions, which is a risk and creates errors, right? And still we have people, at the end of the line, let's them call the client, right, who are waiting for something. Good. The gap in between is always, you have to find a way to get to improve on your communication. So I was checking the web. I live in the Netherlands, close to Rotterdam, and I said, do me, Google car lamp post. And this is what you get in about 100 different versions. And I don't know about you, but this is what I see in the morning. A guy, I assume it's a guy, right? He's driving his car, coming into the street. In the back of the car, he has a lamp pole, right? And he's standing in here on the pavewalk, and he's looking, and says, okay, doesn't seem logical to me. He brings in and here, there's a lamp pole. And I bet he comes home in the evening, joins his wife for dinner at the table, and he will say, today I put a lamp pole over there. Not taking responsibility because the process he's working in is not about his responsibility. The only responsibility he has is to not think and to put the pole where it says on the drawing, from the drawing board. And I bet, in this process there have been people making all sorts of designs and handing over of information, and everyone was, must have been able to see this, right? So there's something in this process. So, okay, we know Agile. What is hindering us? And then we go to the paradigms. And the first one is interaction with the right people. When I was sort of modeling the waterfall, with the analysis and the functional design and the technical design, if you're lucky, technical design, development, test, QA, user acceptance, pre-production, now I have to stop production, right? That's more or less what we do. And in this process, we have to do differently. So we have to create interaction with the right people. And we know in the sequence that I just modeled, there are people there who have a say. Because if you're a small company and you can decide on your own, it's fine. But what if you work for KPN, the big telco in the Netherlands? They have a legal department, and they have a marketing communication department, and they have all those people who have the responsibilities and also a say in, can we accept this solution as being part of the solution pack for our company? And everyone in the sequence who has a say and therefore can say no, should be taken into the process from the beginning. And this is where you take the waterfall, you turn it 90 degrees, and you have to find a way to bring them all together in a rhythm. And that's what I call the heartbeat. So with projects that we do, it's a transformation, it's a software solution delivery, it's a marketing campaign. We work Agile, and we have every week a heartbeat. All stakeholders, let's use the word stakeholder, are there on a weekly basis. And if you have the new insight that we just talked about, or if something happening is out and you can bring it straight into the process, and as a team you can evaluate and you can adapt the course. Adapting the course is, for me, so important. I want to give you a metaphor how I work. A year and a half ago, I was with a crew sailing, not my crew, I was just the cook on board. We were sailing the North Sea. We were in the south of England and we left at 2 at night. We left for France, for Normandy. And the skipper, when we left the harbor, he said, 8 o'clock tonight, we will have dinner in Cherbourg harbor. And it was rough seas and high winds. So we were bumping in the direction of France, high speed. But as you can imagine, things happen. As in every project that we do, things happen. And the skipper had made a course. He was looking at the wind, and he was looking at the current, and he was looking at the tide. And he said, okay, this is how we have to sail. And then we get to Cherbourg. 8 in the morning, wind dropped. Gone. Now we can follow the course that we set. But I can guarantee you, we don't get to Cherbourg harbor at 8 o'clock. So that is the objective, right? So you get all the people there, and you discuss, and you create together as a team the new requirements to still get to the same objective. The discipline, I saw Chris just saying to you that you're developers, right? Who is a developer? Who perceives him or herself as a developer here? A lot, right? Okay. So what you see here is, for me, when you work Agile, and this is the conceptual level, for me, the extreme programming practices are extremely important. You know, the things like the testing, how we do it, test-driven development, the tooling that we use, the pair programming, the refactoring that we do, to make sure that you have high-quality outcome and shared knowledge on the code base. Right? To be able, as a team, to be responsive to what happens, that we don't have to wait for you because you're on holiday, right? Because that happens. You know, we want to do this. Oh, sorry, yeah, we have to wait because, you know, he's on holiday. And then you break a leg, it gets worse, right? So you're away for another 6 weeks. Yeah. And focus. And when I make presentations, I'm always, you know, trying to find pictures on the internet. And I saw this little fellow here, and I thought, this is exactly what happens all the time. And this is also where especially managers and clients come in, because they get their new insights and they push new stuff into the team all the time. Right? And who is challenging about, is this something that you want or is it something that you need? And this is what you have to do in a real tight, you know, in the heartbeat process, quantify the value and focus on it. And if you focus on what you need, there are statistics that say approximately 25% of the requirements that people make up, you know, when they're looking to solve a solution, just 25% is what you really need. And then you have another more or less 25% that is something that you need to do in some version, can also be an easy version or manual version, but there's approximately 40% that we don't need. We make it up, but if you calculate value for the objective, you know, dinner, 8 o'clock tonight, Cherbourg Harbor, does it have any value for this? No, it doesn't. Right? So we have to keep sharp as well. And this one, when we were working at the National Tax Agency, I was translating a document. I was basically rewriting 50% of the document. And I still see so many people working on, and I don't mind MS Word, but somehow in people's brain there is the paradigm that documentation is exactly the same as MS Word, and it's not. So let's. Do I have time? Yes, I do. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but let's just look at a couple of them. The first one. One of the things when you talk about efficiency, we need documentation. You know, when we wrote the manifesto, we said that, you know, we prefer, you know, working solutions over comprehensive documentation, but it doesn't mean we don't have documentation. We have to document. But what do you have to document, and especially how? And one of the things that I like to do, and talking about paradigms and how difficult it can be at the client side to get this in, is we work with information radiators. So on the wall, technical architecture if needed, data models, screen flows, story maps, whatever. The system documentation is on the wall. Not in MS Word documents on a server, in the cloud. You know, you have to find over and over again. You have to read through them. And I always say it's so easy. So this is what it is. We do demo. We have coach teams. They go into the client and they work with them. And then in the team space, they have the system documentation on the wall. So people are pair programming. We're running into something that, oh, no, well, this is we have an alternative, but it's not in line with the existing architecture. So we go to the wall. You two are pairing too. Say, guys, can you join us, you know, on the team? After 15 minutes or half an hour, you know, say, okay, we have the new version. And we're all up to date. And we do this with the client teams. This is how paradigms work. And they appreciate it. And then you find out that later that week, someone is, the information radiator, writing down in a Word document and putting it on a server in the cloud. Again. Managers, I agree with managers on reporting based on visuals. Right? And we do the reporting based on visuals. Okay, we make photographs from the visuals, reporting done. You have all the information. And the next thing I know that someone is sitting behind a screen typing 6-page progress reports every sprint. This is what paradigms do. And the moment that you say, okay, we want to be responsive, you have to take out all the work you don't, the redundant work, the work you don't need. And we are kings and queens in doing work we don't need. And we still, if you try to avoid real end-to-end delivery, this is where you sustain redundant work. I see people, and depends on the culture where you are. I mean, it can be company culture, country culture, regional culture. That people say, yeah, but I have to tell my people what to do. And I like to quote Steve Jobs. I never met him, but there's an expression from him that I really like. He said, past tense, he said, I hire very intelligent people, not to tell them what to do, but to have them to tell me what to do. Right? So if you have people on the team, and I see young people, just leaving university, maybe just left university, if you're smart, let them find their way. This is about trusting people to get the job done. One of the things that for me stands out in the manifesto, right? I do know that, and I don't know about your situation, but we walk into organizations that are old. The National Tax Agency is there for a couple of hundred years already. They have a history. So the paradigms are extremely strong. And in this kind of organizations, you have people that have worked there for 35 years. They are there. And now, after 35 years of hard work, they have become an information analyst. That is their identity. I was once talking in Bucharest to a young man, and I asked him, so what's your role? He said, I am a team coordinator. And I said, okay, how many people are you coordinating? He said, 3. Yeah, that's a job, isn't it? But then I went to HR because there's something in the back of your mind that raises a flag. And I went to HR and I said, can you tell me? He used the word team coordinator. What does it mean? It's the first step after doing the actual work in the team. It's the first step into the management. So it's not just being team coordinator. This is the thing that he says in the pub. I've become a team coordinator. I have a company car now. I'm part of the management. Right? So we have, if we go into really agile and we talk about self-organizing teams, we have to realize you cannot go to a team and say, you're self-organizing now. It doesn't work like this. Right? So we have to allow them to grow into this process. And until then, you have to help them, whatever you do to get them there. The situation with identity is very strong connected to what I call the silos. When you have silos where people have a group of people that do the same thing, and they are just part in the chain, right? And people keep, especially the middle management. When we go into agile transformations, we have a number of layers, and it can depend from 4 layers to 7, 8 layers of management that we meet, right, in transformations. Now, the top management will say, yeah, we go agile. People in the teams, they want it. Sometimes they already, they do Scrum and XP, they do it. In the middle, the management layer, you know how I call this? The permafrost. Right? And it's for a reason. It's for a reason. To be very honest, if you're coordinating 3 people, and we're going to work in self-organizing teams, that status symbol is gone. It's gone. So at the same okay, I can say it here. At the national, don't tell anyone, okay? At the National Tax Agency in the Netherlands, there was a session 2 weeks ago where they said we managed to implement SAFe without changing the organization. And I thought, and for me, one of the things that I know is if you want to achieve something you never achieved, you have to do something you never done. So change is inevitable, right? That's what you need to do. And there's always the yes, but. And I don't know about you, but I like to be sharp on myself. And I'm talking, and I'm getting old, so I don't want to change all the time. That's what you have with old people. And the first thing you say, yeah, but. When you say yes, but, when you hear someone say yes, but, it means that this person sticks to an old paradigm. And paradigms like, you can trust people to get the job done. Like documentation is not the same as MS Word. Documentation is information, structured, available, easy to access, and up to date. And in that definition, it doesn't say MS Word, and it doesn't even say PowerPoint or Excel. Right? But the yes buts are very strong. The worst one you get, that is an awesome idea, but it doesn't work for us. And then you can ask them, did you try it? And they will say, no. And this is another paradigm. When people say no, and they never tried it. This is just doing like this, okay? So the thing is, for me personally, if you're in your environment, look every single day. And I know you have your retrospectives, but look for improvement. Never take things for granted. Even if I'm 22 years doing this. And we have the integrated agile transformation model. That I designed over the years, that's part of change. You can do change process with it. It's an agile way of working to do change. So you can do agile transformations with it. We improve IATM every month or quarter, or we have improvements. Things never stay the same.